Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. It is your girl Brandy and I'm here to wrap up the month of October. We're gonna go ahead and jump straight into it. We're gonna start from the very last book that I read all the way to the first book that I read, since my memory is still kind of fresh about the last book that I read. And I'm laughing because the last book that I read this month was The Silent Patient. Now, you guys already seen my thriller reading vlog, so you know the reason why I read this book is because I needed to pick a side. I needed to decide, was I with the positive reviews or the negative reviews? And as you guys already know, I'm kind of neutral on this one. And go reference my reading vlog, but what I can say is the story was not boring. However, it was a bit slow. And for me, I think I was a bit intrigued because it is in the healthcare setting, specifically mental health. And like I told you guys in that vlog, I work in a mental health setting. So I was kind of intrigued just based off the setting of this novel. Will I read anything by Alex again? I'm not sure, because he has another book out and everybody has been talking about it's kind of drawn out like this one. So like I said, I'm in the middle. I don't have a lot of negative thoughts. I really don't have any negative thoughts about it, but I also don't have like a lot of positive thoughts about it either. I think I'm just neutral. It's not something I'm not gonna lie and say it's not something I remember. I would definitely remember it simply because it's in the mental health setting. However, it's not a book I'm gonna rave about. Probably won't recommend this book to anybody. It's just gonna be here, might be unhauled depending on my mood, who knows. Long story short, I gave this book a 3-star and that's that. So the next book that I read, which was actually one of my favorite books this month, is Real by Kennedy Ryan. And as you guys can see, I have her first release copy when she independently released this novel. I wanted to make sure I picked up this copy before she took them off the shelves. You can no longer get this version anymore because she is re-releasing this book this month with a whole new cover. She's adding a bonus epilogue to it with some new stuff going on in it. And I couldn't wait to get to this one before the release. I'm on her email list, so even though I don't have the new copy, I will get her bonus epilogue emailed to me after her new copy is released. Y'all, I love this story so much. If you hadn't read this story, it is about a film writer and an upcoming actress. And the film writer name is Canon. The upcoming actress name is Neva. And Neva comes from a background where she is just trying to get out of her small city. She is trying to be a big actress. She goes through some stuff in the prologue, like, that makes her, y'all, the prologue of the story really just grabbed my attention, because if you guys know anything about Kennedy Ryan, she is the slow burn queen. However, the prologue of this novel got straight to it, okay? It's a little bit of mess and it kind of sets the foundation for the story as any prologue would, but I felt like the prologue of this one was so good. So we have Nivea. She is trying to be a big actress, okay, in the acting scene, but she's getting little odds and end jobs. Kenneth sees her on one of her little jobs she's doing. He pointed her out. He was like, I need her for my project. And they was like, her? And he was like, yes, I need her for my project because she's gonna be perfect. So he pulls her in and it's up from there. We got romance, we got smut. I think one of the things that I really loved about this novel is that we get the lupus representation in this novel, because she does have lupus. And just like any other Kennedy Ryan novel, she does her research, okay? She's not just throwing stuff up in these books and don't know what she's talking about. She does thorough research. Another thing I liked about this novel is I did listen to it audiobook as well. And we have real singers in the audiobook, not the narrator singing. it's like they got some real artists in here to sing the singing parts of the novel, because like I said, they are filming a movie. And then we get a little historical fiction kind of in here, because it does do dual timelines. So it's dual timelines plus dual POV, which y'all already know I love a dual POV. Y'all, Kanan has been added to the book boyfriend list. Okay, he has been added to my book boyfriend list. He is amazing. Grumpy Sunshine. Okay, if you love a Grumpy Sunshine, you will love this novel. If you love found family, you will love this novel. The smut was good smut. Okay. It was good, y'all. This might be one of my favorite Kennedy Ryan books so far. I still have 2 more on my shelf that I have to read by her, but I have a lot of her catalog that I still need to read. But so far, I've read the Hoop series and I've read the Skyland series, what's available of the Skyland series, plus this, and this is my favorite. And I say all that to say that I did give this a 5 stars. So the next book that I read was My Sister the Serial Killer. This book was featured in my recent vlog where I read thrillers for a week. Y'all, this book was quick, a simple read. It was very different. I cannot pronounce this author's name, so I'm not even gonna try, but it was very different. Her writing style is different. She writes just different than a lot of the popular books that we read is. And I felt like a lot of people were turned off by her writing style. However, the story was executed very, very well. I think it was good. It included some dark humor. And I really, really love dark humor. I come from a dark humor family, so I love dark humor. We get the whole scenario of the older sister being the mama bear in this. We get jealousy between the sisters in this. Go reference my reading vlog because I give more detail in that. And I did read this book physically and via audiobook, like when I was at the gym and stuff like that. So yes, I loved it. The audiobook did it justice. It's a very quick read. Like, it's literally only 223 pages. All of the chapters are short. Some of these chapters in here are literally just 1 page. Like, all the chapters are short. If you are a quick reader, I'm pretty sure you can eat this up in a day. Long story short, I gave this book a 3.5 stars. I do want to read more books by this author just to see what she's like, because I was very intrigued. I'm like, okay, I can get into her writing style. I feel like if I enjoyed this one, then I should give her others a chance. So the next book that I read was actually an ebook that I own. It was The Perfect Peace by Daniel Black. And y'all, I took my time with this novel, okay? So the novel is basically about a family who had lots of sons, right? And then the mom, what was her name? I don't know how I forgot her name right now. Like, because I read this book for weeks, and that's because I really enjoyed the story and I did not want it to end. But the mom, she got pregnant, I think with her 7th child, okay? When she had the child, it was another boy. And she told the midwife, listen, when we leave out this room, we're going to tell these people that this is a girl. Because she wanted a daughter. She got all these boys, she wanted a daughter. She said, when we leave this room, you gonna lie with me and tell these folks that this is a little girl, and I'm gonna name her Perfect because she's perfect and she's my perfect little girl. Midwife like, girl, what type of crazy stuff is that? She said, I said what I said, and when we leave this room, you gonna say the same thing too. The midwife was like, sis, I don't want no parts. This is crazy. I don't want no parts. She was like, you gonna do what I said do, because if not, I'm gonna blackmail you. And the story goes up from there. You guys, we get to experience how lying about the sex of this child shook the family up. It literally shook the family up. The community was shooken. Like, it was crazy. I'm like, how can this lady do this to her child? Okay. It was so crazy. And then eventually Perfect finds out that she's a he, and the story is just, oh my God, it's just a different story. It's very different. If you decide to read this book, check the triggers, does have some heavy triggers in this book. It was a great read. I really didn't want it to end. I felt all of the emotions reading this book. I love Daniel's writing style. He seems to be a dark humor author, okay? Because a lot of things that I was laughing at while I was reading this book, I probably shouldn't have. But like I said, I come from a dark humor family. A lot of stuff is funny. The way they named these children was funny. The way he writes Southern slang, okay? He writes exactly how these authors talked back in the 1950s to 1940s. So it's a lot of Southern slang in this novel. I loved it. It took me a while to read it because number one, I owned the ebook, so I wasn't in a rush to like return it to Libby. Number two, I just had other books that I wanted to read. Number three, I really just didn't want it to end, okay? I wanted to continue to just read the book because when I read it, I was just having a good time. I talked about it a lot on my Instagram stories. So I gave the story a 5-star rating. I'm definitely checking out some more of his work. I've already got book recommendations from my book besties telling me what stories to read by him. I cannot wait because I feel like he's going to be added to my auto by author list, and I just cannot wait to get into more of his. Next book that I read was The Good Lie by A.R. Torrey. Y'all, this book was so freaking good. Okay, I'm not sure if I did a reading vlog on this one or if I talked about this one, but this was such a good thriller. I did not expect to enjoy this as much as I did. Like, I was very intrigued. I'm like, hold on now, what else did A.R. Torrey write? Because I want to read it. It was so freaking good. And so in this story, we get a lawyer who is reaching out to a psychiatrist, and he wants the psychiatrist to do some additional research on a case that he's following. It is, I think the case, I'm trying not to give spoilers, but the case is about a man who is basically harming children. So that is a trigger warning. Take heed. He is harming children and he did murder his son. And he wants to get a psychiatrist to look deeper into the case from a mental health standpoint to kind of figure some things out. In the midst of all of this, we get a little bit of romance. We get a whodunit. We get a I'm hiding something, you're hiding something. Y'all, this book was so good. It was a page turner, short chapters like we love in a thriller. I was just so intrigued. Like, I literally sat here and just binged it. Whenever I was reading it, I was binging it like an hour at a time. I was binging it, and I hardly ever get a chance to binge a book like that. But this book was so good. I remember reading it when I had got sick, so I had plenty of time to just sit and binge this book. I rated this a 5-star. This was a 5-star for me. I highly recommend y'all pick this up. It was just so good. Just check the triggers because they do include some things that is very harmful towards children. The next book that I read was by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and it is called After I Do. I rated The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo a 5 stars. So after I rated that book a 5 stars, I was like, I need to get more into Taylor Jenkins Reid because I know she is a phenomenal author. I just know she is. This story is basically about a couple who has been married for a long time, and they decide to take a break, not divorce. They take a break just to figure out if being married and staying married is the right thing for them. And during their time off, which was for a year, they find out so much stuff about their relationship, about them personally, and they just experience a whole lot of stuff. We get all kind of crazy things. We get them chit-chatting via email unknowingly, and it was just a good story. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to ruin it, but I definitely highly recommend. I gave this book 4 stars, and I cannot wait to get into more of her catalog. I already had all of the recommendations from my book besties, and pretty much everybody recommended basically every book in her catalog. So I cannot wait to get into more of Taylor Jenkins Reid. She has been added to my auto read author list, and I cannot wait to get to more of her work. The next book that I read was actually a buddy read with Baby Girl, and it's This Poison Heart by Kailyn Bayron. And you guys already seen my thoughts about this. Y'all already seen how Baby Girl was getting ready to just call it quits. Baby Girl thought she was finna DNF this book on me. I'm like, girl, please, we cannot DNF on nobody read. You can continue to read this book. So I don't want to say too much in this part of the video about this book, simply because I already did a reading vlog and I hate to be very, very repetitive. So just go reference that reading vlog so you can see my thoughts and opinions and all of that while I was reading the book. Let's just say we are definitely reading part 2 during Thanksgiving break, and I rated this a 4 stars. Next book that I read was actually my October book club pick of the month, and it was The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. I already did a vlog about this one, but this is a Carrie retelling. So if you guys are familiar with the movie Carrie and the book Carrie by Stephen King, then this is the Black Girl Magic version of that. And y'all, I ate this book up. It was really, really good. Definitely had me feeling some type of way because listen, the story is Black, okay? Listen, the story is Black. And the main character, she did what she had to do to get back at these kids, and I loved it. I ate this novel up. I cannot wait to discuss this with my book club. I rated this book a 3.5 stars, and 3.5 is kind of good for me. I've already read all of Tiffany D. Jackson's books. I think I will put this in the middle when it comes to favorites, when I have to rank the books. I think this one sits straight in the middle. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought about reading Stephen King's book and or watching the movie, but I had decided not to because I'm just not even interested anymore. However, this novel was really good, and I do recommend that you pick it up if you hadn't read it already. So the next book that I read is an audiobook, and it's Little Rock by Akwaeke Emenzi. Now, I already did a reading vlog about that one too. Check the trigger warnings. This book is basically about a subject that we are all familiar with. However, we don't talk about it much, especially if we're not involved in this subject matter. And when we do talk about it, we're talking negatively about it, not realizing that this is some people's real life. And if you know anything about Akwaeke, they write out of the ordinary books, okay? You have to be a special type of person to enjoy their books. I thoroughly enjoy their books, and now I want to eat up the rest of their catalog because I love their books. Y'all already know I loved You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. I rated that one a 5 stars. This one, I rated it a 4 stars. I couldn't give this one a review. I couldn't put my thoughts into words for my Bookstagram page, but what I can say is it is triggering. It could be triggering for some. It could be disturbing for some. I wouldn't say this is an enjoyable read. However, the writing in the subject matter will make you want to continue to read to the very end just to see how it ends. I think I will highly recommend this novel. It's not for everybody. I can't say it was enjoyable, because if I say it was enjoyable and then you guys go and read the book, y'all gonna be like, how is she enjoying this? Like, the subject matter, if you say enjoyable, it don't match up. Y'all will be like, oh, this girl is crazy. I'm not. I am not crazy, but it was a 4-star read for me. And just give it a try. Give it a try, form your own opinion. Check the triggers. It is heavily triggered. Just check the triggers. That's all I gotta say. So the first book I read in the month of October, and this is the last book I'm going to mention, is All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. You guys, I ate this book up. I was supposed to be reading this as a buddy read. However, I started this book when I was coming back from vacation. We had an extremely long travel day. The ebook was available immediately on Libby. I needed something to read while we was in the airport and in the hotel waiting to get on our flight later that night. So I picked it up and I literally read this book in 2 days. It was so good. Now, I can't remember the specific details. However, let me get my notebook. So this novel is about the town's first Black sheriff in the history of Sharon County, named Titus. He makes his 1 year after the election, and it encounters a school shooting in their small town's high school. A school teacher is unalived by a former student, and the deputies unalives that former student. Now Titus and his team has to investigate this case because something just doesn't seem right. The town's favorite teacher and a mentally challenged former student is now unalived. But why? This book was so good. When I say I had my husband intrigued. If you guys follow me on Bookstagram, y'all already know I did that asking my husband bookish questions tag. And I'm gonna put the picture of how he answered the question about my current read or my last read. Yeah, he had the synopsis on point, okay? When I posted it over on Bookstagram and on Facebook, everybody was like, yes, sis, run us the book. Because I didn't post the title of the book because I didn't want to give any spoilers. They're like, yeah, husband was on point. Run us the book. We need to know. Y'all, S.A. Cosby, I tagged him in my post. He was cracking up. He was like, oh my God, that is so cool. Like, I was talking to my husband about this. We were both trying to figure it out together. It was so freaking good. It was supposed to be a buddy read, and I felt that. I come to the conclusion that I really don't need to do no buddy reads. I'm going to stick with my book club only picks. I'm not a good buddy reader. I either read ahead or I read super behind because life is lifing. So I just don't need to do any buddy reads the rest of this year or next year and going forward. Like, let's just not even do any buddy reads unless we do it on Fable. If we do it on Fable, then come on, let's do a buddy read, because I like how Fable breaks down each chapter and you can comment per chapter as you finish each chapter, so you don't necessarily have to text each other and be like, where you at, what chapter you on, let's talk, let's pause. No, you just comment on each chapter. So if we could do the buddy read like that, then I'm down. But any other way, nah, I'm straight. I don't want to do it, sis. But this book was so good. I have one more book in his catalog to finish before his new release in 2025. I'm saving that one for January. I rated this a 5 stars, hands down. Y'all already know how S.A. Cosby does. He could do no wrong. And I loved it. And I highly recommend. This was perfect for the month of October. So as you guys can see, I had a very good reading month. I am so surprised of all the books that I read in the month of October. I cannot wait to see how I end the month of November, and I just cannot wait to see how I end this year, because I've been on my grind when it comes to reading these books. Like, I just have, and I love that for me. I think this has been my best year yet, and I think it's because I joined the bookish community. So it kind of, you know, influenced me to read more. And I was already an avid reader, but I don't think I've ever read like 8 to 10 books a month. I probably read like 2 to 3 books a month. But since I joined the bookish community, I've been eating these books up, which I probably need to anyway, because the way I be buying these books, I need to be reading these books. Y'all let me know if you read any of these books that I mentioned. Let me know how you felt about them without spoilers, so that we won't spoil it for anybody else in the comments. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on this video. And until next time, ta-ta.